What's going on today, guys? Welcome to Track 12. I'm the host, the kid, here by myself right now. The Rook has a little bit of a holdout going on, so he won't be joining us today. But we do have a couple of special guests to talk about college football, Dallas Cowboys, NFL predictions, all that good stuff. So without further ado, let me bring on the med guy and the analyst. What's going on today, guys? Has anybody heard about the Rook, his holdout, where he's at? Because, I'm missing my partner, and I really, miss that guy.
I think I got a little bit to add on that in the 2-minute drill later on in the pod, but I think we'll get down to it.
I heard he wanted $35 million guaranteed and to be in line with the quarterback market. Seems about right for his style of play.
So with the Rook, this is the second week in a row, he hasn't been on a show, and people are already starting to talk around the podcast atmosphere, starting rumors saying, like, is the Rook holding out? Is he a me guy? Is he not a podcast guy? So, but anyway, we're going to hold it down and we're going to get straight to business. So before we go any further, Ryan, how's it going?
Good, man. I just noticed. Let me get that camera right for the Parsons jersey. There you go. That's what we're rocking today. Almost went Dak, but I always save Dak for week 1, Sunday night. So I went Parsons today. But other than that, man, I'm doing great. I'm ready to talk some ball. So
and
got the audio fixed, by the way.
Yeah, and then everyone got a new little setup. Everyone has better connection, better mic equipment, headphones. We're ready to kind of dive into this. But before we go any further, Jacob, what kind of jersey are you rocking today? What we got on?
So this is in honor of Zeke. We got the big 2-1 in honor of him. R.I.P. We know it didn't go down smoothly and everything with him leaving, but respect where respect is given. He did hold it down at the running back position, and we all know the numbers he put up throughout his career, and you can't take that lightly. The dude was a dog when he played for the Cowboys. It sucked that he kept getting hurt at the end, but in honor of our boy Ezekiel Elliott, I got the big 2-1 on, and I'm matching our host today.
Well, I would love to hear the analyst comments on that, but we're going to have to skip that for now. We'll come back to that later.
I've got one comment. I've got one.
Let's hear it.
Wave him goodbye.
Where's the lighter?
In good faith. In good faith.
Yeah. Hey, we'll see him. We'll see him week 4 when the Cowboys go. And speaking of the Cowboys, yeah, maybe we'll see if he makes it to week 4. Speaking of the Cowboys, we got Dallas playing on Sunday Night Football, going against the New York Football Giants. It's the first year without Zeke, first year without Kellen Moore. All these things about offseason, making acquisitions, defensive, offensive side of the ball. Dak, giving more reins to the offense. Ryan, I'll start with you. What do you expect from this Cowboys-led offense? And do you expect to have more of like a 2021, 2022 Dak, or more of like a 2016, 2017 Dak style play?
Well, I think, what I'd love to see is Dak to throw a shit ton of yards and just take this thing 42-7. But what I honestly think they're going to do is try and run the football and start with the run game. And the reason I think that is because the Giants don't really have a lot of cornerbacks. If you go look at the depth chart, it's a bunch of guys you probably have never even heard of, which is good for Dallas. And what I think they're going to take advantage of that is like the flip side of the coin. They're going to try and make them stop the run and then open up the passing game for Dallas. So we've been talking about this West Coast offense. I expect them to open it up through the run and then kind of start hitting their targets between Ferguson, Lamb, and Cooks. So that's what I expect to see from Dallas, and I'm hoping that plays well.
And then, Med Guy, I would ask you, so a big question going into this draft, especially in the second and first round, was do the Cowboys take a offensive lineman? This was before we knew about the Zach Martin negotiations. Everyone knows Tyron Smith has about one good year. They hit on Tyler Smith the year before. Now we're seeing the Tyler Smith, a bit of a hamstring issue. Do you see this as a problem moving forward, or do you have like kind of a diagnosis of what to expect with Tyler Smith and kind of like when do we expect him to be kind of full health and ready to go, even though we don't have too much interior O-line depth that we saw in the preseason?
Well, I mean, the diagnosis was a hamstring strain. All the news coming out is saying that it was very minor. They have all the resources and capabilities to get stuff like that, get it correct, and get it fixed and everything quick, fast, and in a hurry. However, I will say, being week one, big game, stuff like that. If it was anything more than minor, I think it would be a smart decision to not play him if by any chance that would cause him, further issues down the road. Okay. Because we've seen that if you move over to the left of him with Tyron Smith, right? And even like what we talked about with Zeke, things may have not have been rushed, but we could have had a chance to, get those guys better to where it's not necessarily a management problem. We're not managing this injury. We're more or less done with the injury. But everything that's come out has said that it's very minor, that they really plan on him being ready to go at game time and whatnot. It is a night game, so they're still going to have, basically as much time as they possibly can for a Sunday night game to get that fixed and get that right. And seeing how McCarthy has treated injuries in his few years here outside of Zeke, really, he's managed it on the pretty conservative side to where like, hey, if he's not 100%, we don't necessarily need him going and further injuring himself for the rest of the season. Because like we've talked about with the interior line is, Tyler Smith has kind of been that gadget guy for us, right? He can bounce all over the line. He can move in or out, stuff like that. Well, if you lose him, you don't have that gadget anymore for when someone else may go down. And so I think they would be smart to treat this as safely as possible if it were my choice.
And so to kind of gauge what he was saying, Ryan, you play an offensive lineman in college. Does an injury like this affect like the speed of way he pulls or like power at the line? Does it have any really, especially when it's mild, does it really have really a big effect on him, you think?
I feel like with him playing guard, it will, because a lot of the times, guards are having to hit the 3 or the 1 techniques on defense. And when I'm referring to those, are your defensive tackle or your nose tackles, whatever set the Giants kind of line up in. And that can be tough because when you're doing those, you're doing a lot of combo blocking. And, Jacob, as the athletic trainer, can speak to this. That's a lot of pushing and not a lot of backwards movement. When you're, especially like on the interior line, like even in pass set, you're going to be backing up and pushing against those D tackles. And unlike, Tyron Smith, for example, you're kick stepping and taking a wide angle to beat that defensive end around the corner. You can kind of like gauge them and turn them, but like you can't do that as a guard. You can't gauge and turn because you're just turning right into the quarterback. So the flip side of that is if Tyron doesn't play, like we were just talking about, they did find, as much as we've voiced on this podcast before, we would have liked to see them take a guard in the second round, but they took a tight end. Yippee-ki-yay, we've already been over it. We won't go into that again. But they did find a valuable guard in the undrafted free agency, TJ Bass. He played very well in the preseason. So if Tyler Smith doesn't play, you'll probably see TJ Bass in that position. And, I was just looking at the schedule. Week 2, we're going to play the Jets, and Quentin Williams lines up across from you. I would rather have Tyler Smith play in that position in week 2 and be more than healthy and have him for the long run than for him to play against the Giants, 75%. So.
Yeah, those are good points too. Hopefully the injury, heals well. And like Jacob said, they have until Sunday night. They have the latest possible you can have over the weekend besides Monday Night Football. Uh, to me, with Dak, I believe this is his biggest year on paper, probably since the 2021-2020 season. This is the best all-around team he has had since he's been in the league. They still have, they added Stephon Gilmore on defense. They got Brandon Cooks on offense. They did draft a nose tackle, which we thought, we wanted a nose tackle pre-draft. We all talked about it on the pod a little bit, and especially over text. We weren't expecting them to actually do it. And Mozzie Smith was not on, I don't think, any of our radars. But, once you find out more about this guy and see that he's capable of being a good to solid NFL player if he, gets the techniques down, because the power, the grit, all that stuff, it's all there. So we just need to kind of figure it out with techniques. And then with the offense, I don't see them having an issue this week moving the ball against the Giants. The Giants, besides when you kind of hold down Leonard Williams and Kayvon Thibodeau, you neutralize those guys, and Bidas is seen to be serviceable at playing center, going against tough guys like Aaron Donald last year. And I don't see why the Dallas shouldn't put up, a constant 24 to 28 points like a week, especially having the defense who can, hold a team to under points, 17, 16 points a game. So, anybody care to comment? Anybody says I'm, reaching a little bit? Like, all feedback is good on this podcast.
Well, I'll make it short and sweet, and I'll let Jacob answer too. I think you're probably right, especially for the Giants. I'm a little nervous about our schedule, but I do think that if the Cowboys can stay healthy, which has always been a hard thing for anybody to do in the NFL, but especially the Cowboys in recent years, I think that they do have a good chance of, especially this first week, coming out and looking really good. And there's the stats to back that up. Dak is 10-2 in his career against the Giants. I don't think they've beaten him since 2020. So, I'm not really worried about them containing Daniel Jones or any of the receivers. What I'm really worried about or in the passing game, that's what I mean. What I'm worried about the most when it comes to Dallas on defense is containing Daniel Jones's legs. We have the pass rush to make them throw quick, and I think we have the cornerbacks to cover quick. But what I'm afraid of is if we get in those man down situations, that we don't have anybody to contain Daniel Jones. But they do have a deep roster, Cowboys do, so I'm expecting good things come Sunday night.
Yeah, I agree with you, Ryan, and agree with you as well, Hunter. And I think a good point you brought up is a defense that can hold a team to 17 to 18 points, and realizing, in the past few years, what's the offense been ranked, right? Number one at 32 plus points a game. And I think that's going to be a big part of this, whatever Texas Coast, Mike McCarthy Schottenheimer ran offense is, doing enough and putting teams away rather than, like we talked about before the podcast started, just trying to push the ball the whole time and score. Like I remember, having, earlier in Dak's career where you had those long, exhausting drives, but it wasn't just exhausting for, the offense. Like you put a 12, 14 play time of possession drive in. I mean, that's a momentum and game killer, right? And so I think you brought up a great point about this offense being able to put up a lot of points, but putting it up differently than before, where it was like, hey, let's score, let's do it quick, let's try to do this, let's try to push the ball, and like, hey, let's time of possession this thing, and really let's drain this team out of momentum and put the game away in and score more of a strategical way than just trying to score to be a number one offense.
It's all about efficiency as well. It's like you make good points about, you could beat a number one offense when you're pushing the ball consistently until it doesn't matter if you're winning or losing. All you're doing is pushing, which causes you could win games, but also you could put your team in bad situations. So, it's not even about, do the Cowboys need to be number one in every ranked points, yardage. If I had to pick one statistic for them to be number one in, where the most effective would be time of possession. Keep even though our defense is so, good and all that, any defense that's on the field 65% of the time, they're going to give up points. And then if offense still is having a little bit trouble move the ball game to game, it's like it can cause a team to be a little bit unbalanced. But as long as the Cowboys kind of go back to, they have the firepower to score points, but also be, top 2 or 3 in time of possession. And I can see that being a very good statistic for them to kind of strive for.
Yeah.
So we got
and a good point to bring up is, like, we've talked about it on this podcast with the last couple of years offense, right? When the offense got stagnant, right? What was the first thing they went to? Tempo. And then they would score, and they'd score in 4.5 minutes. And so it would just be nice to see them, like you said, efficiently, score without having to then kind of put the other side of the ball in a vulnerable position, because like defense gets them off and they're like, all right, we haven't scored, or we've been kind of stagnant. Let's pick up the tempo and then get down the field. Then, well, shoot, our defense is back on there. Like you say, defense being on the field a lot can kind of make them vulnerable and get them a little bit exposed due to them just being on the field for so long.
And I think to add to that too, it's like McCarthy, I think, is kind of known for being more methodical, and I think that's where him and Kellen. There was the report out months ago when Kellen left that they disagreed on some things. I think that's kind of where they disagreed the most. Is I think McCarthy wants to be more methodical going down the field. When we're up 14, we don't need to push the ball all the way down the field to get so aggressive where, Dak throws an interception, or we score extremely fast and it gives them the ball right back and our defense is tired. It's just more methodical play calling, more strategic runs, more strategic passes, keep the ball, in our hands, kind of leading back to what you're saying about time of possession. So I think that's something to look forward to in Dallas's opener as well.
Y'all make some very good points. It's nice to be on a Cowboys segment to where we're not completely trying to kill each other, especially talking about Dak. Those conversations will come eventually, probably. Mm-hmm. But, it's good to be very civil and zen right now. We actually have a Cowboys take from the Rook. Even though Rook's in his little holdout right now, behind scenes, he still gave me a little bit of, leadway to give a take that he has. And I'm going to ask the analyst to kind of, short, brief, kind of quick to the point, what he thinks of the Rook's take, and then Med Guy kind of follow up. So the Rook believes Cowboys will go into this season with questions on which side of the ball we lean on more. This really comes to light in game situations. So, kind of keeping it like, when it's a close game, are we relying more on like the time of possession, or are we relying more on like the defense to make a stop? He also continues to say, I look forward to the play calling of the team with Dak orchestrating and expecting CD to have a big game week 1. He says the pass rush will be very hungry week 1 as well, leading to DJ mistakes, which is Daniel Jones, and the Cowboys giving up no more than 17 points week. Comments from the analysts.
I think that's a good analysis. Going back to what he said, where we're going to lean on first, I think you're going to see it flip back and forth throughout the year, and I think that's when it's valuable to have a tenured head coach than Mike McCarthy. But not only a tenured head coach, Mike McCarthy, a tenured defensive coordinator in Dan Quinn. So I think that's where you're going to see a lot of back and forth. And Dallas, if we need to get in a shootout, then gear up for a shootout. If we're in a defensive battle, take care of the ball, make the most about your drives. But yeah, I think Jared and the Rook is right on point about how that game against the Giants is going to go. I wouldn't be shocked if it's close, just because we haven't played a lot of our starters in preseason, and that hasn't fared well for teams. But I think Dallas is so talented that they'll be in a good position going into that game.
Yeah, and I agree. With Ryan, the analyst, that those are good takes and fair takes, and I like the CD big game thing, and the reason being is because when we've watched the past couple of years, it seems like, and even before CD, it seems like we take a second or a little bit for us to get our number ones going. Last year CD had the problems with the drops early in the season, and then it was like, hey, dude, you're the number one. We're gonna feed you regardless. And I think that would be a great idea and a great game plan. Is like, hey, we're gonna get this guy the ball, and we're gonna make him be that number one from the get go. And obviously, having the other weapons we have is gonna make it, I think, easier. But I think that's a good game plan, is to go in and be like, hey, get these two, Dak and CD, get their confidence high, make it like that, QB1, wide receiver one combo. That's who all the analysts talk about, is like, who's the best quarterback receiver combo, and it's talking about them and getting it started early. But I do agree with Ryan, and you could see this kind of in training camp. With just the intensity of how they practiced, right? Defensive players being like, hey, we're not really going to take shit from anybody, even if it's our own team. Offense being like, hey, if they want it, we'll give it to them, kind of thing. And I think that's how they're going to try to play this year, is like, it doesn't matter who we're playing against, like, we're going to go after them. And I think that's the mentality to go into, is like, hey, we're going to be a team that's to reckon with on each side of the ball. It's not going to be a defensive or offensive. It's going to be like both sides of the ball. We're trying to get after it. And, they're both going to be the reason they win, instead of like, oh, the offense carried or the defense made a stop. I think it's going to be like, they're going to be pretty relentless on either side of the ball, especially, with the media and the news of how they talk about the Dallas Cowboys. So I think it's kind of a chip on a shoulder mentality that they're going to go in with this season, and especially this first game.
For sure. And also, since Mike McCarthy has become head coach, the Cowboys are 0-3 in season openers. And that kind of goes to the analyst point about how, usually the week one, the starters are a little bit rusty from not playing too much. But, don't really take too much in account of, teams like that who don't play their starters that much in the preseason, because, it's not about how you start, it's about how you finish. You want to pick up steam by, week 9, week 10, or even further than that. You're picking up steam early in the season. That doesn't really correlate to, how you want to finish. So we're looking forward to that. And then to kind of end this segment, we're going to do our famous Mama Don't Let Your Cowboys. I'll kind of start this off, and then we'll let the med guy go second, and the analyst will finish it off. So for my one, the Mama, do not let your Cowboys buy into the media crap, as in if they're doing well or if they're doing bad, because it's always going to be one or the other. Always kind of either have them way above everybody, or they're going to have them dog shit in the middle of, or dog shit on the bottom of everybody. So kind of, when I mean that is, kind of keep that same hunger game in, game out. Don't worry about what the media says, because, they're going to talk about y'all more than anything. Kind of keep your heads focused. And when you got a coach like Mike McCarthy, Dan Quinn, yeah, you got Jerry Jones, but don't even listen to him. Play your game, and then cut out the media and wait until, the fat lady starts singing, so that can be how we go out this season.
Yeah, I like that one. Mine is Mamas, don't let your Cowboys get caught stat watching. Okay, and what I mean by that is like we talked about with the offense being number one, and some people having a bunch of sacks, or some people having a bunch of interceptions, or TD receptions, stuff like that. Like obviously those are great things, but the main goal is the main goal, right? The main goal is to win. The main goal is to, obviously we want to say win a Super Bowl, but the main goal is to at least get to that NFC championship, right? Is to do what hadn't been done since any of y'all were born. I know I'm a little older, but
Grandpa.
keep the main goal the main goal. Don't get caught looking at individual stats and stuff like that, especially if it's not resulting in wins. So that's my mamas, don't let your Cowboys.
Fantastic. The analysts.
Well, mine is a little bit more game one, which is Mamas don't let your Cowboys let Daniel Jones run the ball. So it's what I said earlier. I'm not really afraid of Darren Waller with Curse out there. Hopefully Wilson's good to play, but they have some options to cover that down. Not really worried about the outside. I think Diggs and Gilmore are going to hold that pretty well. Our pass rush. It's probably one of the best in the league with Parsons and Lawrence on the other side. And then Mozzie finally getting some reps with the ones. But letting Daniel Jones run the ball is what I think will kill Dallas in week one. So they're going to have to watch him and watch him close. And I think the guy to watch him is Marquise Bell. So I'm really looking forward to week one, and that's why we're all in our Dallas jerseys. So let's see. I'm so ready for it, so we can give y'all some more analysis, especially me because I'm all analytics. I need some numbers. So Sunday night, we're all ready for it.
Yes, we are. We're hoping to be back on next Wednesday with a Dallas 1-0 record and kind of build on that to go throughout the season. So for y'all who listened last week, when the analyst and the med guy were doing their show, they brought in a little new segment. They called it the 2-minute drill. And the Rook and I and our listeners really enjoyed this part of the segment. So without further ado, I'm going to let you guys go this little 2-minute drill. I'm ready to hear it front and live. Whoever wants to start it, go ahead. Let's go.
Medical guy, you can take this one off first.
All right, I'll get it started with the 2-minute drill like we did last week. We'll try to keep it, a little lighthearted, but a little serious, and try to keep it quick. This one will be more overall NFL, and it'll lead into some of our other topics, but we're going to go over a little bit of injuries this week, okay? Obviously, we've got the big ones that have come out this week, right? Cooper Kupp with a hamstring issue, okay? Kind of something we preach as athletic trainers is biggest thing with coming back from a big injury, such as ACL surgery like he had, is you want to make sure everything's good to go all over the body, right? So the ACL is great, the quad's great, but sometimes you get caught lacking with the hamstring stuff. And obviously I'm not saying anybody didn't do their job, nothing like that. They have the best facilities, best resources, but that's a big thing that popped up this week. He actually got put on the IR list, so he'll actually be out for multiple weeks. And that's one, tough to hear for some fantasy owners, but also tough to hear for a guy that, has worked his whole, collegiate career, his NFL career and stuff like that, have one bad injury. And then it seems like it kind of seemed like things were getting good. And then all of a sudden it's like, boom, he's back on the IL again. So that one's tough. The next one, which is a little bit more interesting, is Travis Kelce. Okay, he had that hyperextension of the knee. They came out and said the ACL was good. So that is great. However, with some of those, what you have with hyperextensions is you end up having bone hitting bone. Okay, and just to let y'all know, that's never a good thing. Okay, they haven't come out and said how bad or how good it is, obviously, but for fantasy owners out there, Andy Reid didn't seem too concerned or anything like that. But for someone who basically plays receiver at tight end, that is a big thing because he's that main target over there. And he's running routes, he's doing all this stuff and moving in and out. And so that's going to be something to keep an eye on. Next is George Kittle, right? Dude seems like a grinder, big grit guy, but he always seems to have some type of soft-ish thing going on. Right now, he's listed questionable with a groin injury. He's on one of my fantasy teams, and I really hope they just get that figured out, and hopefully for my fantasy purposes, but also, he's a great tight end. Awesome to see him out there because it seems like he plays, super hard. It seems like if I could sum it up, when Dan Campbell said like biting kneecaps off and stuff like that, that's how George Kittle seems like he plays. Just a real, just nasty, gritty individual. And so it'd be cool to see him out there. Going into Dallas players, obviously we talked about Tyler Smith. Those hamstrings are tough. Big reason those are tough is because of how much power they are putting through that. At the same time with hamstrings, one wrong step or overstretch and you're back to square one, or it gets worse. And so us being former athletes, I was always too slow to pull a hamstring. Not that that's really a thing, but I always say that. I never had to deal with it, but dealing in the medical field, you see them all the time. And people like to rush back, and then all of a sudden they're out another 2 weeks because they tweaked it in practice or whatever. And then last but not least, what we were going to talk about earlier, our own Jared May, the Rook. He is on the IL, IR, 4-day IR, whatever you want to call it, with the virus before COVID called the flu. I don't know if any of y'all forgot about that, but that thing still exists. Got the flu. He's on the DB list, the down bad list. So he might be out for a couple days, but hopefully this weekend with a little bit of college football, and then Sunday night, hopefully with the Cowboys win, it'll get him feeling better and get him back on the pod, man. So that's my 2-minute drill, and I'll send it over to the analyst.
Well, I like that. While you're talking, actually, I have Cooper Kupp in our TRAK league, so I went and picked up my handcuff and Jefferson as you were talking.
And that's crazy. Well, it's crazy. Before you go, to think that we don't just come on this pod and just start blabbering BS the whole time and everyone's not listening. During a 2-minute drill, the med guy was given a diagnosis that caused the medical guy or the analyst to go pick up somebody in a fantasy football league. That's some real love right there. That's some real love.
Making sure nobody saw me.
That's some real love.
Yeah, but for mine, as I've said in the past, analysts work. Analysts needs numbers, man. You got to crunch those numbers. So ready for week 1 so I can have some of that. But I did bring a different set of numbers this time around. So 2-minute drill for me is going to be about some games that we'll likely talk about later on in this pod. But Bengals-Browns, 12 p.m. Sunday night. We're playing, or they're 12 p.m. Sunday. Quick stat for you. Joe Burrow is 1-4 in his career against the Browns. Deshaun Watson, the boy that nobody likes, has a full offseason under his belt. Now, there's been some reports that have came out that he has not had that great of an offseason. But, last year, in the last 6 weeks when he was playing, he was highly efficient. So the line is -2.5 Cincinnati. But if I were y'all in the sports books, I might be looking into taking the Browns on Sunday. My next one is the Lions and the Chiefs. They play tomorrow, Thursday. Mahomes is very strong in week 1. He's put up 3 to 4 touchdowns in each game in week 1. He always comes out firing. That might be hindered with Kelsey. Barring Kelsey plays or not, I would take his prop for touchdowns and the KC 4.5 money line or point line as well. So I would take KC 4.5. And then the next one that's probably not on anybody's list, but it's the Commanders and Cardinals. Bottom line, the Cardinals suck. They're tanking. And the Commanders are actually not bad. I mean, Sam Howell looked pretty good in the preseason. So I liked what he got going with Jahan Dotson and Terry McLaurin. And I think that if I were to bet it, I would take the Commanders' money line. I really do think that the Cardinals are not going to maybe even win one game this year. So that might be something to take all year. Because like Jacob said, I think earlier, the Cardinals haven't even named a quarterback and they went out and got Josh Dobbs, who is also bad. So I'm probably going to take the Commanders money line. I like that a lot. So, but going forward, I'm going to get more stats for you guys throughout the year, and maybe throw in some fantasy highlights in there as well. So that is my 2-minute drill.
Fantastic! I cannot wait mid-season to see the Trevor Lawrence analytics. I'm actually looking real forward to that one. I'm gonna have to request it and be like, Rook, we gotta get the analyst on there. I need him to start throwing out the numbers. I need my agenda going. Like, let's get it going.
We'll look into it. I'm expecting big things from T-Law this year too. So one of the things that I'd like to bring to this pod eventually is passing charts and prove my 10-year tenure of a Russell Wilson hater to prove to everybody that he cannot throw in the middle.
Oh, I was just about to bring that up. I was going to bring it up. What's the over under on how many times Ryan brings up Dangerous Wilson's passing chart throughout the season? I was going to set the money line at, I was going to say the money line was going to be 12.5.
Well, what's going to happen? Well, you know what? It would be, I would say the money line would probably be about 30.5. Why I say that is because he's going to put it in a group text just for one time. Then he's going to put it on the internet. So then, it's like he's not going to do it every game unless, he's really that bad about it. But, that's for you, the guys who don't know the analysts. If you want to know one thing about him, he does not believe in Russ throwing the ball in the middle of the field. That's his biggest. I've never met somebody who has an agenda like that. No matter what, is straight to it, and you have everything to back it up. Before I heard that from you, I was like, what the hell is he even talking about? He doesn't throw the middle of the ball. He said, well, Hunter, let me show you these charts real quick. And then every week he's like, well, look at it is.
I've got 7 years of evidence that he cannot throw in the middle. So
just laminated, sitting next to his Xbox, just like
I got a binder ready to go.
Yeah,
that was a good 2-minute drill. It's probably one of the best things that y'all bring to the pod. I think it's a good showcase to show y'all's knowledge and all that. So I was glad I'm a part of it for the second time on here. So moving in, the 2-minute drill, they kind of touched on some things moving forward with injuries and analytics and all that. So our big motto is to shatter the script on this podcast. And what's funny is, a couple of days ago, the NFL got their scripts for the year. So, we're here to shatter those. And, we're not going to go through every single game because we don't have the time of day. We all work jobs, and I'm pretty sure y'all want to hear us go through 32 games. So we picked a few kind of games. We got the Chiefs and the Lions. We got the Eagles and Patriots. And then we also have the Chargers versus the Dolphins, kind of get into some points. So I'll start with the tomorrow night game, open up the year. We got the Lions versus the Chiefs. So like the analyst said, he talked about how Mahomes, the last 4 season openers, the numbers he's put up. And then you also got the med guy talking about how Travis Kelce is out for week 1. He's not, kind of where that's going moving forward. So this is going to be the first time that we see Mahomes, who I think we can all agree in this video right now that he is number 1 quarterback in the league. So this will be the first time we'll see him without Travis Kelce and even Tyreek Hill. Even though he was gone last year, now they're both going to be gone for this game. I'll start with you, analyst. Do you expect a different approach with the Chiefs tomorrow versus the Lions? Because the Lions are a very up-and-coming team. They got some dogs down there. What is the approach that Mahomes should try to take for that game?
I think they should stick to what they do best, which is get Mahomes in the best windows to throw the ball. And for Mahomes, that's anything on his right side of his arm. I mean, he can throw underhand, he can throw overhand, he can throw sidearm. I think what they're going to try and do best is probably stick to the short game and then get the running backs involved early. Because they've got I don't know, 4 running backs that could catch the ball and go. So I expect Andy Reid to be cooking on that sidelines, and I wouldn't be shocked if if the Lions keep it close. I do think the Lions are going to be pretty decent this year, but I do think the Chiefs are going to win. I just think the Chiefs are still king, and I don't think you can say anything different until they prove that they're not. Now, Kelsey not being out there could affect Mahomes, and that could affect how the game goes. But I do think that Mahomes will him being the best quarterback in the league, and I think anybody in the world can agree with that. I think he finds a way to win. So I don't think he's going to let a team like the Lions that are up and coming, disprove him of his throne. So
Yeah,
that's my
so
take on that.
that's a good one. And I kind of want to ask you a question too, Med Guy, and then we can kind of combine everything together. So with an injury like Kelsey's, let's just say he misses 1 or 2 games, he comes back, he's not really a full 100%, let's say about 80. Do you think this affects the whole Chiefs offense in a way when he's out there not fully healthy with his kind of a knee issue like this? Or do you think with someone like Mahomes, it's just kind of you could throw anybody in there who's capable to make, the whole team kind of still fire on all cylinders?
So I have I guess a different take on this game. Um, but I think him not being out there is going to take a big hit. I think Patrick Mahomes can do a lot with a little and can still compete and still win a lot of ball games. But that's the one thing is, I mean, he's always had at least one guy, whether it be Tyreek Hill and Kelsey, or just Tyreek Hill, or just Kelsey. Like we can all argue with a wall about whether Travis Kelsey is the number one tight end, but I mean, receiving wise, he is. And same with Tyreek Hill. I mean, you could say that he's a top 5 to 3 wide receiver. And so I think it being this close to game time, I think it's going to be real. I don't think detrimental, but I think it's going to have some things a little off, right? Because not saying that Travis Kelsey is a safety blanket or anything or plays like that, but when there's ever anything wrong, whether it be a stop route or whatever kind of route that he runs, because he runs all of them, it's like he's always open, right? Doesn't matter who you put on him. And so I actually was going to have a little bit of a different take on this. And I think I think this is going to be a shootout, but I think the Lions take this game. Now, that's not me saying the Lions are a good team. I think this is going to be, oh, who was it a couple years ago where, and they're not as bad as this team, it was the Jaguars, where they won with, or 2 years ago with Urban Meyer, right? Where they won the first game and then were absolute dog shit for the rest of the year. I don't think they're going to be that. But I think the Lions win this game. And I think they get like, oh, hey, we didn't write back type thing. And then I think they're going to go on like a 4 or 5 game skid and brought down to reality. And this is going to be one of those games where you're going to look back and be like, the Chiefs lost to the Lions? Like what? And even though they're going to be competing for whatever else. But that's going to be my shatter the NFL script right there. Is I think the Lions are going to take this one. It's going to be talked about for 2 months about how the Lions were so good for game one and the Chiefs were not, didn't come away with a victory. And then everything's going to flip 6 weeks from now when the Chiefs are 5-1 and the Lions are, 2-4 or 1-5. So that's my shatter the NFL script on that.
That is a big one right there too, because a lot of people, especially in like the NFL world, are really big on the Lions, even after their questionable number. Was it the 12th pick? They took Jamar Gibbs. They traded up. They're like, this is our guy. This is what we need. We got a good OC and Ben Johnson. Jared Goff, just like Dak, they're having contract negotiations right now. You look at the Matthew Stafford and Jared Goff trade. The Rams got their Super Bowl, and now Matt is basically playing in a brace. And then they're like, okay, so we got Jared Goff now. Everyone's kind of already like either you like Jared Goff or you don't. There's really no in between with him. And they think they might have found their quarterback. They even have a backup like Hendon Hooker. The Lions, I can see them winning week 1. They have a good. If you're gonna beat the Chiefs, it's gonna be when Travis Kelce and all those guys. Even nobody even mentioned this, but Chris Jones is not gonna be there. And if you look at the rankings with Chris Jones on the field and off the field, it's night and day. So, we're going to see, there's not going to probably be too much pressure on Jared Goff. He'll probably have a clean pocket most of the game. They got St. Brown. They got this rookie running back, Jamar Gibbs. They can they can figure something out. But I don't know. You guys don't believe the Lions have a chance to win the NFC North?
I don't think that defense is that good.
Yeah, that's my concern with them. Is I think that they can compete, but I think their defense is still a knife in their side. I just think that even with Aiden Hutchinson there, and is Jeff Okudah still there?
He's on the Falcons. He's on the Falcons, and I believe he got hurt again.
Yeah, I think they traded him for like a 6th round pick or something. Like it was like he went from a 1st round pick or whatever to getting bounced for like a late, like a day 3 pick or something.
Yeah, they gave up a 6th round pick with a 3 milligram can of Coolman Zin.
Yeah, that's right.
Throwing a little, not even a 6 milligram. They threw in the 3 milligram.
Yeah,
they were just taking.
The Listerine pack of Zins, huh?
I don't know. I think I could see the Lions winning like 8 or 9 games, but I just think, contrary to what y'all are talking about, I think the Chiefs just figure a way to pull it out, and I think that's what playoff teams do. And the Chiefs are probably going to be there again. So I just see the Chiefs kind of coming out on top. But I guess to wrap up that game, final score predictions. So my final score prediction for tomorrow is I'm going to say 21-18 Chiefs.
21-18. All right. I got 27-24. Man, I'm going to go with the Chiefs. Yeah, like I said, I know I was kind of boosting up the Lions, but like I said, if they're going to beat them, it's going to be now. But, it's just I just don't feel right just doubting Mahomes after just everything he's done. And what we've seen is doesn't matter what weapons are really out there. He's just him. He's already solidified probably a top 10 quarterback ever, which is crazy to say with someone who's only been in the league for 6 years now. But it's just no matter what, he's just always up there. So I got 27-24 Chiefs, and I'm super excited for tomorrow. You have no idea.
Yeah. I've got 35-31 Lions.
Ooh,
that's all I'm gonna say. That's all I'm gonna say.
I hope it's a high scoring game, because what was it last year? Last year was the Bills and the Rams. And the Rams just got absolutely shitted on. Talking about Josh Allen, he started off like 10 for 10. I think the first pick he had was like a deflection. He ended up finishing with like 40 rushing yards and like 300 yards. Like I thought he was going to win MVP after that game, but he kind of tailored a little bit.
Yeah.
So, like we said, we're a big Shattering the NFL Script. And I'm actually really intrigued to hear y'all's takes on this. So we got the Philadelphia Eagles going against the Patriots week 1. The Patriots, they're always going to be respectable on defense. They got some questions on the offensive side. So a big thing about this group that we have is that y'all guys are not really high on Jalen Hurts like most people. So do y'all see another season like last year from Jalen Hurts, or do y'all think that he kind of goes back to earth, kind of being the guy he is? What's kind of y'all's take on it?
I tend to think.
Go ahead. You got it right.
I tend to think that last year was a big year for Jalen Hurts, but I just don't see how he does it again. They have a lot of weapons. They got D Swift. good offensive line. But I think that people are going to figure him out a little bit. I think they were able to hide his capabilities well, and that's really hard to argue because everybody thinks about the Super Bowl. He was able to throw a lot of yards, and honestly, the Eagles might have won that game or should have won that game. But I just think that Jalen Hurts, they lost their OC, they lost the defensive coordinator, the line's a year older. It's going to be really tough to it's going to be really tough for him to replicate that same season he had last year. So I'll be interested to see how this game goes. I don't think that even with all of those same weapons, I don't think they'll be as powerful on offense. And I think a lot of people are high on him, but I don't see them as especially with the NFC being the way it is, I don't see them being light years ahead of Dallas or light years ahead of the 49ers. So I'll be interested to see how he plays against the Patriots, who usually have a pretty stellar defense.
Yeah, so a big reason why I also want to kind of get into this Eagles topic, because I really wanted to get y'all's opinions, because let's just say most people right now after last season and what they think Jalen Hurts is, they think he's like a top 5 quarterback. Some people have him top 3, but most people have him in like that 6 to 3 range. Do you believe he's a top 5, top 6 quarterback, or you think they're just being a little too lenient before we let the medical guy go?
I think they're being too lenient. I could see him. I think top 3 is a stretch, top 4 is a stretch, and even top 5. But I mean, I can understand the argument for 6. So when I think top 5, I think I still don't understand how you can't put Rodgers in there. Even with the year he had last year, I don't think he really wanted to be there. I think you'll see Rodgers flash again this year. I mean, obviously, like we always talked about, you've got Mahomes at 1, and then everybody else can argue they're 2 through 7. But I think it's a stretch to put Hurts at the 5 level and above. He had one really good year last year, but I just want to see him do it again. So, that's for him to do.
Yeah, and with, medical guy, this is a good part for you to show your knowledge of the sport. There's no really medical questions I get to ask you. So, like I said, analyst, what's your take basically on the Eagles team and Jalen Hurts, and like, where do you have him ranked, and was last year a fluke, or, I just want to hear all your take on it.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily too high or too low on Jalen Hurts. I think he's very good. I think he can be very good and even better. It's just a couple of stats. He didn't. Most quarterbacks, they prove themselves. In the last 2 minutes or the last 4 minutes or game-winning drives. Jalen Hurts didn't take, but I'm trying to remember the stat, but it was no more than 70 snaps of the whole season behind last year, not including the playoffs. Okay, so all season. And we also have talked about how well he was as a runner last year. And like we've talked about with other quarterbacks and stuff like that, especially Dak, like you pay a guy that much money, there's no way I could see, risking a $50 million player and having him have 14 rushing TDs or whatever, 12 rushing TDs like he had last year. Mm-hmm. So I think the biggest thing in this game, and I think throughout the season, is kind of like how, and I'm not calling Jalen Hurts a running back by any means, but how the Cowboys a few years ago when Zeke was, that dude, what did they do? Every team loaded the box and said, you're going to beat us with Dak Prescott. And I think that a lot of teams, and especially the Patriots, are going to start doing that. They're going to be like, hey, if you're going to beat us, you're going to sling this ball around and you're going to replicate what you did against the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, right? And that's where I think a lot of people have thrown him into that top 5 conversation, is because what he did in the Super Bowl. and not taking anything away from him because it was ridiculous. It was very good, very impressive. But I think, just like with every other player in the league, after about a year or two, they figure out your tendencies. They have a lot of film. They figure out what you're good and bad at, or what you not necessarily bad at, but maybe what you're not as good at, and they're going to try to exploit that and try to take away what you're best at. So his best quality, right, is he's very mobile. Able to move in and out of the pocket, away from people and whatnot, and obviously run the football. And with him getting paid that much and a lot of film, I just can't imagine they go into another season and expect him to run that much and put, his body on the line like that, because we saw the difference between him and Gardner Minshew last year, right? We saw the difference between that offense. And so I think it's going to be a big thing this year for Jalen Hurts to prove himself as just being a dominant passer, which I honestly think he can, because he's literally proven, everybody and anybody and any team wrong at every level he's been at. But that's going to be the biggest thing for me this year. Don't think he's a top 5. I would definitely throw him in, his top 7, top 6 to 10 or 12, if you may. But he's only done it for 1 year, and that's my biggest concern. He does it for multiple years in a row, or even 2 years in a row. We could start having that conversation. But that's kind of my biggest take on that, on Jalen Hurts and where he's at in rankings, and kind of what I think about him as a player.
For sure. I'm before I go and kind of comment on both what y'all said, I got one question for you, Ryan. Do you got a chart if Jalen Hurts can throw the ball in the middle of the field? Do you have one yet, or do we still kind of waiting on it?
I need to check it. If I had to guess, he probably would throw probably more to the outside, which is very common with quarterbacks. Just to kind of follow up with what Jacob said is, if they're going to load the box this year, I think that's kind of what a lot of teams started doing in the later part of the year against him. So if there is a chart out there, it is probably leans more to the outside of the boundary, outside the hashes. So
yeah, and to kind of go into what y'all both said, Jalen Hurts, when you rank him with quarterbacks, it's like, most people with the brain have Mahomes at number 1, and then everybody's like number 2 and 3 is usually like Josh Allen and like Joe Burrow. They kind of, people have them 2 or 3, kind of mix and match. But then when it goes to like 4 through like 10, even 15, it's really all about preference. So it's like everybody has a different way of kind of evaluating what they value in a quarterback. Like, do you want a mobile quarterback? Do you want a pure pocket passer? Like, what? It's like there's so many different things that takes into account. So basically what I'm saying is both of y'all are correct about, not saying you're correct or wrong about y'all's comparison. I like how when y'all rank somebody, you guys have a reason for it, and you're not bashing the guy saying he's not top 3. Like, people take it, it's like, just because I don't think he's top 3 doesn't mean I don't think he's a good quarterback.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think he's not like that's the other thing I'd say is I don't think he's a bad quarterback, but like I think like for me the number 2 in the league is Joe Burrow. Mm-hmm. Why is Joe Burrow second in the league? It's because he's done it for multiple years and has made a Super Bowl. And then like the one that I don't understand sometimes is Justin Herbert. And I think what everybody gets carried away with is the size and talent of Justin Herbert. And it's like, okay, well, he also just blew a 21-point lead in the playoffs. And I know it's a team game, but like he hasn't done anything effective in the playoffs. Or, Lamar Jackson is the other one that everybody puts up there. And it's the guy can't win a playoff game. So, I mean, you want to talk about the difference between Gardner Minshew and Jalen Hurts? Let's talk about how Tyler Huntley almost beat the Bengals. And they should have if Joe Burrow or whoever fumbled the ball on the goal line right there. Or not Joe Burrow. The Ravens fumbled the ball on the goal line right there at the end of the game. So,
They missed a block in the back when Mark Andrews trying to tackle the guy. Could have changed the whole aspect because that was a touchdown. One thing I will say about Jalen Hurts, I think his best quality, and it's really like a Dak-like quality, is his leadership. He's one of those quarterbacks that people, like, his teammates love him. They want to play for him. That's the same with the Cowboys and Dak. Depending on what way the Cowboys organization goes with or without Dak, if he's gone, they're gonna miss that locker room presence. Having a quarterback that guys just love to play for. Nobody ever, especially teammates, have ever talked bad about Dak's leadership, and they always commend it, say that's one of his best qualities. And I feel like Jalen Hurts kind of has that same leadership quality to an extent of like Dak, and that's important to being a good quarterback. You can do this and you can do that, but if you're not a leader, that's what makes Mahomes so great as well. He has everything you need, plus he's a leader. And I just think, that's one of Jalen Hurts' best qualities for sure.
Yeah.
So,
what's our scores? What are we doing for our scores? Go ahead. Let's the kid give us your score on this game right here.
So we got a Patriots offense who is dog shit. They already have reports about Juju's knee about to explode on Twitter and stuff.
Literally explode.
Yeah, we gotta. They're a pretty respectable defense every year with the Patriots. I'm gonna go with 24-10 Eagles, and I think the Patriots don't score that 10 point until quite a bit in the game where it's really just doesn't really matter. And
yeah, I think that the Patriots offense is a major question mark. I think you saw a lot of regression and very stable growth from Mac Jones last year. Nothing very promising. That's also because they hired Matt Patricia as a offensive coordinator, and I don't even know if he's called offense before. But I just don't think they have any firepower to hold the Eagles or to score against the Eagles. And then on defense, I think they've always had a solid defense, but I think the Eagles will prove that they're still one of the best teams in the NFC. Kind of like I said earlier, I do think they're good. So I don't see this being, a scary game for the Eagles. I think they end up winning 24-10, 27-13, something along that, 2-touchdown game where it gets late and people are switching their channels. So
yeah, I agree with y'all. I don't think it's going to be very close. I think it's going to be 28-10, and like Hunter said, I think it's going to be 10 on like some BS mercy field goal, and maybe that'll help one of y'all cover the spread or hit the money line or whatever. But I think it's going to be a pretty simple and just kind of ugly game. Like, I don't think this is going to be a fun one to watch, and everybody's going to be like, oh God, can't I get something else on CBS this week besides this game kind of game?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, if I don't know the exact spread, but Patriots at home going against the Eagles, there's already a bunch of question marks. If I had to take a wild guess, it's probably like 7.5, 8, which is shit for a team that's playing at home. Like, you shouldn't be anywhere near that. So another one we will talk about with the NFL will be the Los Angeles Chargers. There's a little mention about Justin Herbert earlier. So Justin Herbert is getting Kellen Moore, who was once the Dallas Cowboys and Dak Prescott's OC. Now, the kind of offense we've seen Kellen Moore run in the past, which y'all always mention, curls, it's very vanilla. And you got this quarterback like Justin Herbert, who, very talented. He can make every throw. Ryan, I'll start with you. Do you think this hurts a guy's progression like Justin Herbert? Or do you think this would be something big that can move forward with Justin Herbert's career, even though he already got paid?
I think it'll be good for Justin Herbert. Dak had a lot of good seasons with Kellen Moore. As much as I hated watching some of the plays we'd run, and I've said before, I think Justin Herbert has a really good year, but where it hurts, when Kellen Moore hurts the most is when you get late in games and they need to win a game. He starts getting very conservative. So I would be willing to bet that Justin Herbert is up there in passing yards and touchdowns, and he's got a lot of good receivers this year with Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, and now they have Quentin Johnson, the TCU receiver last year. That was big for Max Duggan. So it's just a matter for the Chargers of staying healthy. They're always hurt all the time. So if they can stay healthy, that would be great. To flip on the other side of the ball for this game with the Dolphins, I think that Tua is the big question mark on that side. They're going to need to do a good job on Tua's side, helping him get prepared. I'm not even sure where he's at these days in terms of brain health. But with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, they should be pretty set. I think the Chargers are going to be a big question mark in this game on defense. So I'll be interested to see how that plays out for sure. But medical guy, what do you got on both sides of the ball there?
So y'all talked about Kellen Moore's offense and how it's going to affect Justin Herbert. I think he'll be fine, especially you've got two solid receivers, and then with the Quentin Johnson, I mean he showed he was pretty solid as well. I think that will be fine for Justin Herbert. What I'm more interested in is Austin Eckler, and so the reason being is we've seen kind of how, and we've talked about how Kellen Moore's offense kind of dissolved into this mixture of, I guess the good word you used was some soft serve vanilla, right? And every blue moon he would throw a sprinkle on it, and that would be his running backs, right? Well, what's Austin Eckler been known for? He ain't been known for toting the rock for 26 times a game. He's been known for catching the ball, right? And so I'm going to be real interested to see how Kellen Moore implements, a big pass catcher, versatile running back that's not, his, like how he used Pollard and Zeke at the Cowboys is like he didn't really throw it to them the last couple of years. And yes, there might have been a couple, but that's what I'm saying. Every blue moon, it was like that. Where last year, everybody tries to go grab Austin Eckler because he may run for 800 yards, but he's going to catch 75 passes and 7 TDs for another 800. And so I'm going to be really interested to see how Austin Eckler gets implemented into the game plan and how he does this year in a totally different offense that didn't utilize the running back position how he has in the past. On the flip side with the Dolphins, kind of with Ryan right now, it's like we kind of don't know what we're going to get with Tua, especially post of whatever happened last year. I know that was pretty traumatizing and whatnot. And, they got the weapons on offense. They have the coach on offense that likes to, move quick, light it up, do all this stuff, use his weapons and let them be weapons. But it's going to be interesting to see. And it's not a knock on Tua, but since his time in Alabama, he's kind of been iffy with the injuries, right? He had a couple of high ankle sprains a couple of years in a row that he had to have surgery on. He comes into the league, has a concussion, played with a coach that didn't like him at all his first year. So he's that literally came out and said like, yeah, I don't really like Tua. So, we're just not going to play him to his strength and whatnot. And so I'm, questionable about how Tua is actually going to look, especially coming off all that last year. But to sum mine up, and I'll go ahead and get to my scores right here is, I'm really, I guess I'm going to go with another shootout. I think this one's going to be like a 38-35 shootout where they're just slinging the ball all over the place. And it kind of matches each other, right? Because, the Dolphins, they like the, fastest show on turf kind of thing. And then knowing Kellen Moore's history, he likes to score a lot. So I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I think it's going to be a 38-35, and I'm going to go with the Chargers here. I think Kellen Moore is going to pull out a victory in his first OC debut with the Los Angeles Chargers.
Yeah, I'll kind of touch up quick, kind of what y'all said. Yeah, so Kellen Moore, he's going to, be with the Chargers this year. I think Justin Herbert puts up good numbers. We've seen Dak do it and even though the talent's not as there as much as Dallas has in the past when they had like Amari Cooper and stuff, Justin Herbert is a quarterback who is, generational talent, arm-wise and all that. Doesn't mean it's going to equivalent to wins and all that. The Chargers will probably win about 10 to 11 games. And then with the Dolphins side, Tua has always been the biggest question mark. In my view, I think he's one of the most overrated quarterbacks in the league. When you have Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill, Mike McDaniels, and you're telling me you're having trouble hitting them on like a 25-yard streak route that they just ran. Like, it's just, you can even give like quarterbacks like Jalen Hurts or Lamar. I bet you they can make something work with those guys. Final prediction for the game on Monday, I got 31-28 Chargers. I think Chargers.
There we go.
I'll play devil's advocate on the score there. I honestly think that even though the Chargers, listen, I think the Chargers have really good receivers, but the thing with that is that they all the receivers are the same. Keenan Allen is the same as Mike Williams, is the same as Quentin Johnson. They're all tall, lanky receivers that aren't really known for their speed. So I think that while the Miami Dolphins did lose Jalen Ramsey to a meniscus surgery, I do think that Miami wins this game. And I don't know why I feel that way, but I feel like the Dolphins defense is good enough. But I think the thing that, we're questioning is Tua. But I think Tua, being healthy now, getting another offseason with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, them going out, I think that they end up winning this game. So I'm going to say the Dolphins beat the Chargers in week 1, and I'm going to say the final score is going to be like 27-21.
There we go.
All right, and after we get some content out there, we'll definitely start throwing our, predictions on Instagram and all that stuff, kind of give like 2-1, are we all going for the Eagles, all that stuff. We got a little devil's advocate over there up top right. So before we get into college football, we'll have one last take. It's going to kind of be like a yes or no. The Cardinals this year, do they win a game 0-16? What do they go 0-16 or not is basically the question. Yes or no? Kind of give a quick little brief of it, and we can go from there.
I'm gonna say they win one.
One game.
I think it's very hard to not win one game all year. So I think they win 1 or 2 games.
1-15. Okay. Med guy.
Yeah. I'm looking at their schedule right now, and they play the Rams, the Browns, the Falcons, and the Texans. I'm going more than 1 game, but less than 4 games. How about that? Can I do that one?
I agree with that.
All right.
If their win prop was 4 games, I would take the under.
Yeah, we're betting the under. Hammering the under.
Hammering it.
Yeah, so there's been reports about if Kyler Murray is going to play this year or not. Let's just say, Kyler Murray's return time is November, and they're 0-8, 0-9. Shut it. Don't bring back Kyler. Trade him away.
Yeah.
You're already going to pick. You already know who. Probably Caleb Williams if he leaves. So with that, I don't see. I'm going to go devil's advocate. Cardinals, how bad they want Caleb Williams and what they've been doing this offseason with questionable moves. 0-16 will be the Cardinals' record.
Ooh, there we go.
I have some stuff to add for that. So my brother-in-law spent camp with the Cardinals this year. He was a receiver, and he eventually got cut, which sucks. But I asked him about Kyler Murray, and I was like, "Hey, is that what everybody says about him true?" And he was like, "Oh yeah, dude. He doesn't watch film. He falls asleep in film rooms. They ask him, hey, do you want to watch film after practice?" And he's like, hell no, I don't want to watch film after practice. I didn't even play. You want me to go watch that?
Phase up. Phase
Yeah.
up.
So you know what he's doing? He's on these right here. He's on these sticks.
Yeah.
So
Yes, sir.
he's getting ready for that Modern Warfare 3 coming out, Warzone 3.0. So they just
All right,
need to
what
get
we're gonna do is we're gonna clip that and we're gonna sell it to ESPN for $500,000, and we'll
There
go
we
live
go.
on an island. Well,
That's right.
we got you know, he's called the analyst, but we got a little bit of Ryan Schefter over here dropping a
That's right.
bomb.
Sheffy bomb.
Yeah,
Bomb.
dropping a Shefty bomb. Mayday, May bomb, whatever you want to call it.
Yes, there we
bomb,
go. Mayday bomb.
The bomb was dropped. That's a lot of NFL. We have some pretty interesting takes. I'm glad everyone got to get those kind of agendas and opinions before a season starts, because you don't want to be that guy who gives an opinion 4 weeks too late. You know, we're over here jumping the train early. So to kind of finish off this pod, talk a little bit of college football, a little college football recap. The Med guy is a big college football guy, and so is the analyst. The Med guy, this is, you know, he's been excited. He's like, I got this game. So we're going to let the Med guy kind of start this off. And, you know, Ryan, you can join in whenever. I'm going to sit back and kind of grasp all this college football notice, or all this stuff basically from Todd McShay and stuff himself. So, Med guy, get the reins.
All right. So for college football Primetime, we're gonna, and the reason I'm so hyped up about the reason I'm so hyped up about it is because, as we know, I'm an athletic trainer. I work with football primarily in the fall, softball in the spring. Well, this past week we had a bye week, and what a time to have a bye week where I could watch some college football and not be on the field during it. There we go. And so Saturday, basically, I had a buddy come into town, had a couple of friends here in Tyler come over to the house, and at about 12 o'clock, because that's appropriate for adults, I cracked open a beer, and that's what happened, baby. And started watching some football. So really, I just want to go through a couple games, kind of keep it lighthearted. Some of the you know, heavy hitter games, some of the more exciting ones, some of the least exciting ones. And y'all just yell at me or whatever if y'all want me to stop and talk about one. But first and foremost, the big one that everybody is talking about is Colorado versus TCU. 47-45 Colorado from you know, Mr. Primetime, Deion Sanders himself. His son's out there slinging the rock, looking great. TCU falling.
Wait. Was that a racial slur you just threw out there? You said as Deion Sanders is slinging the rock out there? What? Come on, bro. Read the room. Come on.
That's a common sports term. Leave him alone.
All right.
Sorry, guys. Sorry. 2023.
Keep it rolling. Keep it rolling.
PC Hunter over here. But just super impressed. You know, everybody doubted Deion and what he did with the Louis and Vuitton luggage thing and getting rid of people and whatnot. Now, I will say, not defending TCU, but I think they only had like 3 returners on the team from last year or something crazy that actually played in the national championship. So that's nuts, which is why they were probably went from finishing second in the country to being ranked 17th this year. So that's nuts. But that was a super cool game to start off the day with, and you know, really just open up college football. I thought the Colorado jerseys looked sweet with the gold print on them and everything. Before going into some of these other games, y'all have anything else to add or that you want to talk about? Or Hunter, if you want to report me to the PC police or anything like that before we move on to the other games I've talked about.
I will get one take out there. Mr. Sanders, his son, will be a good NFL quarterback. I don't care about, I wasn't even looking at the numbers, what team he was playing. I just saw the footwork, the throws he was making. He will be a good NFL quarterback years to come. Not saying he's going to be great. Not saying he's going to be an all-time great, but he will be a good, serviceable NFL quarterback time being. That's all I really want to say.
What we got, Ryan?
All I'll add to the Colorado game is I think it was blown out of proportion by mainstream media. I think TCU sucks this year. I think they're back to Big 12 of no defense. So I would like to just see a couple more games out of them before I can start rolling around. And, like what I didn't like about Deion Sanders, and it's just typical Deion, is going out and being like, "Oh yeah, where's all the receipts?" It's like, bro, you want to know? Like, we got 15 games or 12 games to play. Like, maybe do that in week 3 when you're free now. But I think they have a lot of good things going up for them. It's just like any other media script; it's just blown out of proportion. So back to you, Jacob.
Absolutely. And I'm not saying Colorado is going to do anything crazy, but it was a fun game one to start off with.
Oh yeah, no, we were at Texas Live. Watching
oh.
that was a great game to start with for sure.
Oh, yeah.
So.
Go Astros.
Go Astros. Next game we're going into, I don't believe this one was on Saturday, but the Nebraska-Minnesota game. What a fall from just glory from Nebraska back in the day to where they get a new coach, Mr. Savior Matt Rule for college football, and they just did not look good. I'm not going to blow it out of proportion. I'm not going to say they're going to suck all year, but good God. That was just, it was a 13-10 game. Minnesota won on a walk-off. I think it might have been a walk-off field goal or something like that. But it was just, watching that game just made me want to put it on anything else but college football. Next game we had kind of a surprising one. It's just a weird little take in there. Is Louisville and Georgia Tech played. And I think Louisville won 39-34, high-scoring game. Fun fact about that is it was very weird seeing Georgia Tech not run the triple option for the first time in, I don't know, probably 115 years. So that was crazy to see. Y'all's boy from A&M and East Texas legend. I think he's from Longview, Haynes King.
He is
out there. Slinging the rock, so I don't get termed whatever Hunter wants to call me. I'm saying it for a white quarterback too. Lefty and everything. So he was slinging it. That was a cool game to watch and kind of crazy to see a 39-34 game for Georgia Tech. Next game we'll get into is the UT versus Rice. This was a pretty awful game to watch too. I was talking to Hunter about it. It was 16-3 at half, Texas, and I think in the first half, there was one touchdown scored by Texas. So you do the math, analyst guy, 16-3 in the first half. You've got
that's pretty bad.
Texas is a back team with the 2 top-ranked quarterbacks just looking like dirt out there in the first half. And I know it ended up being a 37-10 game, and everybody's like, oh, yeah, the defense looked great. You're playing Rice. Give me a break.
Yeah.
So there was that. Another team on the in the Big 12 right now to shit on. Texas Tech versus Wyoming. Texas Tech, what are we doing, dude?
I know.
You've got one thing to do, and it's just to not lose to teams like this. And not only did you lose to them, it was a 35-33 game in overtime or double OT. So not even you lost. You lost how you play. Is you outscore everybody. And if you're going to lose like that, you got to lose to Baylor or TCU or Alabama or Georgia like that. You can't lose to Wyoming. Who's the last person you've heard come out of Wyoming besides Josh Allen?
Couldn't tell you.
Some people don't even think the state of Wyoming is a real place because you never hear from anybody there.
Okay? Yeah, that's that's a hard-hitting fact right there. Is I've never met anybody from Wyoming, so.
Yeah, so that's nuts to me. Another big one, 2 big names, LSU, FSU, 45-24 win, FSU. Mr. Brian Kelly, will see ya. Take your fake country accent back up to Notre Dame. That's tough. Doing you got the greatest of facilities around, best recruiting class, wonderful place in Baton Rouge, great food, anything you can name it. And you just got, donkey stomped up and down the field.
I would like to add to that. Brian Kelly sucks as a head coach. I will say that because he coached at Notre Dame, Notre Dame, and
Catholics.
The Catholics, and he won a bunch of games there, but he ain't fit for the SEC, man, and he is not the right fit from LSU. You went from having the most likable coach in Ed Orgeron to having like freaking the Joker as your like, and nobody likes him. Nobody. And like you go out on against Florida State, who we're the big SEC, we're gonna go in there and beat them. And you go out there and you give a dog shit performance like that against Florida State, like what a joke! I hate LSU, and I hate him even more with Brian Kelly. So
yeah, just getting dog walked, man.
yeah.
And to add on to like the just like I mean I don't know the guy, so I'm not just gonna just shit on him all day. But Brian Kelly was the coach. I don't know if y'all remember that left his team, Notre Dame, right before a bowl game, and just texted the people to meet for a 6 or 7 a.m. meeting for someone to tell them like, hey, your coaches are going to be here with you for the bowl game. That's
it was a 5-minute meeting. And then on top of that, when he was coaching at Central Michigan, I don't know if you've ever heard Matt LaFleur share this, but Matt LaFleur and the head coach of the Jets, Robert Saleh, were both a part of his coaching staff at Central Michigan as a GA. And what he did there was he had a Christmas party and he invited the GAs out there, and Matt LaFleur and Saleh were like, hey, cool, we get to be a part of this. Snowing out the ass. They get there, and what does Brian Kelly make them do? He makes them the valet service. The GAs, he makes them the valet service for his Christmas party.
Oh, shot.
And Matt LaFleur and Saleh are both like they won't say it on camera. Go look it up. He did it. And they're both like, yeah, I don't really have anything to say about Coach Kelly. So the dude's just he's just a jackass. Like that's the best way.
He's a turd, man. That's what he's just a turd. So, and he made his name for playing at Notre Dame and playing independent. So essentially you got to win one decent game a year and then you're in. And then we saw what always happens when he got into the football playoffs.
He gets spanked.
Yeah. So really disappointed in that LSU showing, even though I only worked there and lived there for a year in Baton Rouge. It kind of made me like a little soft spot in my heart for Baton Rouge and LSU a little bit. Not saying I like them, but I'll root for them against Florida State, and just seeing that was not good. Okay, next game we're gonna get to Clemson versus Duke. This was just bad. This was bad. No one in their mind was going to be like, yeah, I'm going to take Duke over Clemson unless you're really hurting for some money and you're making a crazy bet. And it just goes to show, like, man, when you don't have the best quarterback in the nation, it's real tough for Dabo Swinney to win games, right? We think about the last couple quarterbacks they've had. Deshaun Watson, not a great guy, was a good quarterback. Trevor Lawrence could be, a generational talent at quarterback. They even the Tagovailoa guy, whatever, that was there. Yeah, DJ. He wasn't great there, but he went over to, was it Oregon State and lit it up this weekend. And so it's like, maybe take a look in the mirror. And like I was telling Hunter, one quote that I saw when the NIL stuff started, and Dabo Swinney came out and said, we are playing for a name, image, and likeness, and we're all religious here. We all believe a certain way, and I'm not making fun of it. I just think this is one of those corny things that some people say, but saying, we are in the name, image, and likeness, the Lord Jesus Christ, and we are in His name, image, and likeness.
It's like,
and I saw that video reposted, and someone quote tweeted it and said, I think this is the moment that God said, we're not cheering for Clemson. Yeah, we're going for the Blue Devils. If you want to think, God has a sense of humor, that's it. He takes that man and he gets beat by the devil. So if you want to look at it that way, you can. I thought that was a crazy game. And then last one I'm going to talk about, and I'll be done, is the North Carolina-South Carolina game. Two big names to look at here. Obviously, Drake May plays for North Carolina, right? and then Spencer Rattler. The third big name is good old Mac Brown, right? So, fun stat with Mac Brown. In Mac Brown's worst year at Texas, since he's left that year, so his worst year, I think, was 9 wins. In his worst year, that would have been any year since then's best year since he left Texas. I don't know if y'all remember a lot about Mac Brown. It's been a minute since he's been at Texas. And so 9 wins was his worst year at Texas. So in the last 10, 15 years, no other team at Texas has accumulated 9 wins. So crazy stat there. North Carolina wins 31-17. Drake May looked okay. Spencer Rattler just looked like a 7-on-7 quarterback the whole time. And then at the post-game thing, I don't know if any of y'all saw that video, but Mac Brown grandpa'd and Big Daddy the opposing coach and said, "Hey, get your sorry ass back here. I'm about to." And you've all had your grandpa or your dad, like, when they're getting in your ass, they pull you close and they're like, "I'm going to whisper this in your ear. I'm really, really going to make you think about what your next move is."
He started around him. It's like, "I just kicked your asshole."
Yeah. It's like, "Don't you turn away when I'm talking to you." And I mean, just embarrassing.
Try that small town.
That's right.
Yeah, kind of thing. 70 or a 97-year-old Mac Brown still just putting young coaches in his place. So I thought that was fun. But yeah, that's kind of my run through right there with college football. Probably might be the only weekend I get to watch college football on a TV this year. So I was pretty hyped up about it. So thanks for letting me do that segment, Hunter.
Yeah, no, you're welcome. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say the Rook's take on his old school A&M, kind of let y'all comment a little bit on it, and then we'll let the analysts discuss a little bit, kind of, quick little 2-minute drill about upcoming college football games. So the Rook on A&M this week, he said, even with lower competition, the Rook was impressed by Connor Weidman, second-year quarterback. Jimbo's biggest flaw since coming to A&M was play calling. Giving Bobby Petrino reins of play calling, you saw more high-flying offense led by second-year wide receiver Evan Stewart. He expects at least 8 wins with A&M beating LSU, routing Miami, and possibly beating Alabama. Whoever wants to go first, because I know y'all
probably
go
first.
The analysts, take it.
My family is all Aggies. I'm the only one without the Aggie ring. I will say this though. I do not agree with them beating Alabama, but I do think A&M is going to be more competitive. I keep bringing up my family in-laws, but it's hilarious. I know that's nuts moment. My father-in-law, his roommate in college and teammate for 4 years was Connor Wakeman's dad.
Wow.
That's nuts. So I've been asking him, and he watched him in college or in high school when he played at Bridgeland. That's right up the road from me. I mean, I'm sitting 10 minutes from Bridgeland High School. The dude's good. And what I love about him as a quarterback is that and I saw it last year when they finally let him play a little bit, he will laser the ball. I mean, when he throws, he is putting his entire body into that ball. And, I think that's what A&M's been missing since Johnny Manziel. Johnny Manziel wasn't a quarterback like that. Like, he didn't have the best arm, clearly. But Connor Wagner's got a great arm, and that's what A&M has needed to elevate themselves. They've always had good receivers, they've always had good running back, they've always had a formidable defense. But I think the Rook is right on that Connor Wagner's gonna elevate them, and that the offense looks a lot better. Now going back to Bama, I don't think they beat Bama. I can't tell you if they play home or away.
It's away. No, it's at home. Yeah. It's at home. No, it's at home. It's at home.
Okay, then they have a better chance. But, man, I got to tell you, I don't know how they get to 8 wins in that SEC. So I have to look at their schedule, and it's really early to tell. But saying I think they could be if LSU plays like they did against Florida State. I think A&M could beat them, but eight wins. I think that would be the money line. Like over and under 8 wins. That's going to be a tough ask for the Aggies, but I think they could do it. Jake, what do you think on that?
Well, we all know that A&M, that's their cap though, right? Is 8 wins, right? They get the 8 wins. They brag about it. They have
Like
2 bad
Chick-fil-A
years,
Bowl.
and they get back to 8 wins, and it's like, yeah, we're competitive. Cool, great. You're 4th best in that conference, that side of the conference. However, I will say that the quarterback did look great. Okay, even though they were playing, a Division III football team, basically.
Hey, Division One FBS. Give them credit. FCS, they're FBS actually. Excuse me.
Yeah. Okay. And the quarterback did look good. I do agree with giving Bobby Petrino the reins. Just keep him off the motorcycles and the blonde girls, and he'll be fine.
Baby.
But y'all have had, or A&M's had, a few good quarterbacks come through, and they just can't figure it out. But I think that'll be good. Is definitely giving someone offensive reins, offensive mind. Petrino was there at Arkansas when they used to sling it as well. And so I do think that's a good hire. And I think that's a good point. I don't know about the whole Bama take. And I basically agree with what Ryan just said. 2 more games to throw in there. BYU skunked Sam Houston, and SFA lost on a shootout to Troy. It was like 50-42 or something. But the Bearcats got beat by the Mormons or whatever.
For my alumni take, I'll just give you that. We don't have a freaking quarterback, man. This guy that used to back up Eric Schmidt, he's trash. And
trash.
Our defense is good, but he's been trash. But anyway, that's my short alumni take.
I will send you. I saw this TikTok yesterday about Sam Houston football and what they do in the locker room now, Ryan. I'll try to go find it on TikTok, but you guys, I'll send it in the chat. You might get a little kick of what they're doing in the locker room, and it's.
Is it the if you in a cat you in shit champ?
No, it's like some freshman dance. It's so weird. I would have to go look. It's weird. It's just it's cringe.
When we were there, we all games.
Yeah, whatever. Hey, funny thing about Sam Houston, is my last thing, not a dig on him, but the former head coach at TJC is, I believe, the DC, defensive coordinator at Sam Houston now. His last name's Rocco. So that's just kind of funny that, like you were talking about small worlds and stuff like that, is that the former head coach at TJC, where I currently work, is at Sam Houston as well. So that's pretty cool.
Nice. So I will say one thing about the Rook's take on A&M. If anybody has watched A&M football after week 1, the last 2 years, especially week 2, 2 years ago it was against Colorado, where they won 10-7 on a touchdown scored in the last 2 minutes of the game. Absolute dog shit. And then last year was against Appalachian State at home, week 2, where they totally pissed away that game. So, the Rook with that, routing Miami, I know they beat them last year, but, sometimes history might repeat itself. It's a new year. It's a new year to prove yourself. But every week 2, for some reason, they just don't, especially on the road. There was Colorado on the road. They had Appalachian State last year at home, and now they go to Miami, where all the white students at A&M are probably going to get beat up.
I did see that tweet.
Yeah, you saw that.
There's a tweet. There's a tweet that came out that said some Miami grad that was like, I heard all the A&M Aggies, treated the Miami people nice when we came to Aggie land. He's like, don't expect the same energy. I'm like, oh, you better be walking. Whoa, bro.
Whoa.
Brother.
Yeah, so basically, to kind of end this segment, Ryan, I'll ask you your prediction, quick little prediction, little drill on Alabama versus Texas and A&M versus Miami. And then, Med Guy, you can Colorado versus Nebraska.
All right, I'll give it to you quick. Texas A&M Miami last year, 17-9 was the score. I honestly think A&M. I kind of agree with Jared on the take for A&M. I think they come out firing on all cylinders, and I wouldn't be shocked if they keep the same energy they had last week. There's a lot of fire with Connor Wakeman at quarterback, so I hope because I like to see, as my family is all Aggies. I do root for them from afar. Like, I'm not like a huge Aggie fan, but I would like to see them be good, and it's always good when Texas teams are good. So going into my next one, UT Bama, I'm excited for this game. I'm going to be watching with all my buddies. We're doing like a little watch party for it, but I'm all in on it. I'm not going to be wearing orange, and I will not be wearing Bama red. I hate both these teams, quote unquote. But I honestly think UT's game against Rice is kind of a shadow game, and I work with like a bunch of UT guys, and one of them is a fellow credit analyst. He's a Longhorn and a Lions fan, and he's like, I don't know what it is, but he's like I feel like we like just didn't showcase the playbook, and I can see that happening because with Quinn Ewers last year against Bama, he was balling, dude. He looked good
till the shoulder went out.
Yeah, until that shoulder started kicking on him, and that throttle let loose and went out of commission. But the other thing that I don't know why I feel that way about it, they're also playing at Bama this year, and that could be tough. But Bama's quarterback situation, this is the first year that Nick Saban's been like an old grandpa. He's been on the mic multiple times this year, saying like, "Oh, if you want me to name the starting quarterback, like, why don't you play good so I don't have to name one?" And it's like, it's such an old man take of like old and grumpy, but that is Nick Saban. So to give my two scores in that game, I think A&M beats Miami pretty handily. I would say 35-21 is a good score to throw out there. And then UT Bama game. Like I said, I'm kind of high on Texas, but the edge that I'm giving Bama is that they are playing at Bama. So I'm gonna have to say Bama ends up winning that game, even with the. I know that's going to upset you, Jacob, but
no,
even with the question at quarterback, I just think Bama, until UT proves to me that they're back, which they haven't for like 12 years.
True.
Until that happens, I think Bama edges them. It's going to be a close game, but I think Bama edges them at home 24-20. It's going to be a close one, but I think Bama edges them.
Nice.
Med guy, finish us off with Colorado versus Nebraska.
All right. So I think I'm kind of twisted on this one because I think Colorado kind of put everybody a little bit on notice that like, hey, everybody doubted, and TCU may not be as good as last year, but like TCU's still a Big 12 team. They're still competitive, all this stuff. So I think Nebraska, and especially after losing to Minnesota, has to come out stronger. Mm-hmm. Has to come out stronger. Has to be firing at all cylinders. I will say with Nebraska, the quarterback that played had only been at Nebraska for just a hot minute. Like he hadn't been there, with the guys in camp and all that stuff. And I know that can be tough, regardless if you're, transfer portal or 5-star or whatever. That's got to be tough. So I expect them to have a little bounce back game. I do expect Colorado to win this game. I don't think it's going to be as crazy as the Colorado TCU game. I think this is going to be a cleaner game for Nebraska. However, I'm picking Colorado to win. I don't think it's going to be some 47 score. I think I'm going to take Colorado at let's go with Colorado 31. I'm going to go Nebraska at 24. So I think it's going to be within at least one score. I think it's going to be a lot cleaner game for Nebraska. And I think, Colorado's still going to sling it everywhere. I think Travis Hunter's still going to just have that dog in him and play both sides. But, I just don't want Colorado to, be drunk on that high from winning that first game and everything, and then come in and think everything's going to be like that. I think Nebraska's defense is going to be a little better than TCU's. It's got to be a little better than TCU's. But I think it's going to be a much closer game. I think it'd be 31-24 Colorado.
Well, you heard it here first. We got Bama over Texas, A&M over Miami, and Colorado over Nebraska. Nice job, guys. I'm more of an NFL fan than college football, but, we got the med guy who loves college football, and then you got the college football collegiate over here in Ryan May. Ryan, destroy the day!
That's right, baby. It'll be good. It'll be a good Saturday for sure.
Oh, yeah.
So to kind of end this podcast, we're going to be doing a little something different. We're going to call it the kids picks. It's a couple picks you could do on Prize Picks to kind of start your little parlay. So to kind of break it down real quick, there's a Dak Prescott taco discount is what they call it, where you should hit it. It's over 0.5 passing yards. So if he doesn't hit it, you won't be seeing me on the pod because I will grab a bottle of scotch and kill myself. Just kidding. And to kind of pair those with, you could do a 2-leg, you can do a 3-leg, you can do a 6-leg. I don't care. I just want you to win. I'm going to say rushing and receiving yards over 74.5 for Jamar Gibbs. I think being a 12th.
I like that one.
Yeah, being a 12th overall pick and no Chris Jones. Yeah, it's his first NFL game. It could be like a Kareem Hunt rookie year Thursday night game where he just shows out. Especially when you combine where they say they might use him as a wide receiver, running the ball. 74.5 seems pretty lenient. It seems like you almost got to take it. And then we got 0.5 receiving touchdowns over for Justin Jefferson. He's going against Tampa Bay.
That's free money, dude. Free money.
Exactly. It sounds free until you put the parlay in.
Yeah.
But you got
put half my paycheck on it.
Yeah, I'm gonna throw my mortgage on that.
You got Justin Jefferson going against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and he's kind of looking he's already proved enough to be a high-paying wide receiver, but why not build up to this kind of great start that he has to his career? So 0.5 receiving touchdowns, and you saw what he did last year, week 1 against the Green Bay Packers. Justin Jefferson, over 0.5 receiving touchdowns. Keep it simple. Don't overthink it. Those are the kids' picks for the first week of the NFL season.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go look at my Prize Picks. I have to agree on every one of those. I mean, obviously, the Dak one's just like a freebie, but I don't see how Jamar or Justin Jefferson doesn't get at least one receiving touchdown. Like that's free money.
I had Kelsey in it. It was 0.5 receiving touchdowns, but then he got hurt, so I was like, "Well, shit, I can't tell people to take that pick." So, just kind of keep
throw him out there, Dalton Schultz style.
You could take the under.
Well, they took that shit off real quick. They be pocket watching on Prize Picks, but yeah, there's a few couple like Ryan. You could do Patrick Mahomes 2.5 passing, rushing, and receiving touchdowns put together.
Ooh.
I like that one too.
If say like someone was like, oh, I don't feel like using a Dak Prescott, free taco, so you could do like 1.5 passing touchdowns for him, under over. He should probably, I think he gets about 2 to 3 first game of the season. So yeah, well, that will conclude the kids picks to end the podcast. Check us out on Spotify. This is track 12, the Rook holding out, joined by the med guy and the analyst. Any final remarks before we get out? Any last points you guys want to say?
Sunday night football. That's all I'm ready for. I'm just ready to get the season going. And I'm ready to see Dak Prescott on my TV again in the weirdest way possible. No pause.
Absolutely no.
So,
Yeah, no pause there.
yeah.
I agree with Ryan. Super excited for football to start. This is football that I actually get to watch on TV because I work on Saturdays. So Sundays I'm big chilling watching football. Just two things I gotta say: go Apaches, TJC, and go Astros.
Yes, sir. Go Astros.
Astros.
They won 12-3 tonight. They already won the series against the Rangers, kind of building up that AL West league, the AL Wild West. Astros, we're hoping to see the Rangers in the playoffs, but for my Rangers fans out there, it's over, brother. Give it up. Give it up, brother. You guys folded. Fold job of the century.
Hey, while we're here, let's give a quick little update on the standings. As of Wednesday, 9-6, the Astros have a 1-game lead of the AL West. So the Rangers are 3 games back, and the Seattle Mariners are 1 game back as well. So Astros are making the push.
Let's go.
It's a good time. We kind of mentioned it. This series right now, the Rangers and Astros before, it's probably going to decide the AL West. And what a time for the Astros the last 2 series against the Boston Red Sox and the Texas Rangers, where their bats are just clicking. Dusty Baker, you got a little bit of kind of questions to answer moving forward. We'll see what you do come playoff time. There's a lot of questions to be answered, but
yep, that's all I got. So
yeah. So thank you guys for joining us. I'm the kid. We got the med guy. We got the analyst. Thank you for giving us a listen. Any questions, any comments, leave them on our Instagram page. More welcome to any kind of comment, bad or good. We just want to interact with the fans, and thank you for giving us time. Y'all have a blessed day and night.
Later, guys.